I'll go to that one, actually.
We're live already. My favorite pastime of all pastimes, my favorite hobby, my favorite job, my favorite thing to do, just my all-time favorite, sitting with elephants. Welcome to Wild Earth Safari this afternoon. My name is Mark and Becky is on camera with some of our local bulls behind me, and Herman and Tara and Craig back in final control, and Seb's back from leave. Everyone's back from leave actually, so we're back to pretty much a full crew at the moment. Welcome to our PM Safari, and well, we got a lovely start this afternoon. It's a really lovely day. In fact, I would almost call it a spring day if it wasn't for July. If this was August, I would say it would be spring day. It's really a beautiful temperature. It's quite warm. There's just a very slight breeze blowing. Cloud in the distance that tells me that there's moisture in the air and that things could change over the next few days. I'm going to look for signs of insects and things to see if they also think there's going to be change, and we'll look at that a little bit later while we're on our drive. For now, though, wow, they're all deciding to feed on the silver cluster leaf, or the silver leaf terminalia. There's a fifth little boy that's joined them. And you know, one of the most remarkable things about these elephants is that this little boy in front of us, him, he's a teenager. He's got a really nice set of tusks for his age.
What's your hat?
Oh, my hat. Let me go this way. Is that better? I'm going to move now anyway, because they're slowly moving up onto the open area and we're going to follow them. I'll sit in a place where they can just wander up to us. But as I was saying, that little boy, he's probably in his late teens. He's probably only joining up with these bulls recently. Who knows, maybe he's been with them before. He is dwarfed by some of these other bulls. I mean, there's just that bull to the right of him. That's a big bull to the right of him. But when we look at that big bull to the right of him compared to this old man, it makes that big bull look like a teenager. And that is the one thing that's so remarkable, is that it's very hard for you out there in the rest of the planet to get any idea about the size of these animals. But just in terms of relationship to each other, forget about their relationship in size to us, just in terms of the size comparison between them. I mean, now look at this. This is, unfortunately, we've got the owner's house in the background, but there's not much we can do about that. We'll get a better view of them without human habitation, but they're right here at the lodge, so we don't really have much choice. You can see the base of the mast. That tall straight pole is the base of the very tall mast that we broadcast from, so there's not much chance of signal loss right now. But this giant elephant next that we're looking at now dwarfs these other big bulls. And now there's one, let's see, we just go to these other three. It'd be nice to see them all together. But this bull now that's moving, this one on the left of our screen, he's got to be about 11 feet at the shoulder. Just prodding this younger bull in the butt to move him on. Just goes to show his tusks are smaller than the smaller bull, and the small bull's actually got, well, his tusks are thicker. They could even be older. But the one at the back, the third one, that's going to be now moving to, oh, we can't see him, but look at the size of his head. But one that's on the far right now. That's just incredible. Hello, boys. Please come and say hello to me. He's got a second chin, this bull in front of us. He's got a bit of a flabby neck. I gave way because the very big bull moved up closer. I can't believe how tall he is. He's huge. He's got to be 12 or 13 feet at the shoulder. One of the tallest elephants I've seen. And look at that. Makes that little teenage boy look like a young female. But even that young bull is a tall elephant. But this old man, probably around 40 odd. Is just, I'm sure he's the bull once that we saw here on the open area, and we saw him shoulder height to a broken branch sticking off of one of the terminalias, and we measured that also at about 12-13 feet. If I had to stand next to him, I'd probably come up to his elbow. I'd probably be where his tusk is now. The tip of his tusk now is probably where my head height would be. I don't think he'll let me stand there. I don't think I'll try that today. I don't feel like it. Maybe another day. He might not take too kindly to that kind of behavior. Wow. Bachelor boys. And all these other bulls are probably learning a lot from this old man. He's not so much an old man as much as he's just, she's just so big. Get a picture of his ear. Pitcher's mound here. See if we can park on this mound. This little bull might not like it. Not such a little bull. These boys are fine. They've spent the better part of their lives experiencing vehicles. We're in a bit of a slope. Experiencing vehicles move around them. Oh man. Fantastic. I would say all 4 of these other ones are his Askaris. They move up ahead, they wait for him to catch up, and then they wander forward when he comes up. Like his bodyguards. He walks in the middle and they walk on his flanks. Keep the paparazzi away. But this paparazzi doesn't want to stay away. I want to see them some more. Oh, they might do a bit of sparring. Playful tussle. I'm going to stop here now on the road. We'll just stop here on the road. Do that again, boys. He wants to play this one on the left. He's inviting it. Older bull's not interested. There we go, he's trying again. And the older bull just asserting his dominance a little bit. Can never get enough. I can see this every day for the rest of my life. It still won't be enough. Sorry, Becky. Make sure we're just in a really good position. Once they get to the edge of the open area, we'll lose them not lose them, but we'll lose this opportunity to witness them in the open like this. Oh, that's a big bull, gonna poke him in the back now. Very big bull now, having a bit of so much for a better position. Let me try that again. So I'd say there's a young bull in his late teens, there's one bull maybe in his 20s, two in their 30s, and the one big bull maybe around 40. We're gonna spar again. Shut up, guys, I'm busy. We're gonna move. Just want to try and keep west of them so we get good light. And I'm hoping with this little bit of play sparring that they're doing, they will just get a nice view of them. Sometimes it can be nice getting side light on that because they can kick up dust, but out here on the open area, I don't think there's much chance of much dust. Putting his trunk in his mouth. It's partly it's a greeting and part of it is social interaction. But you can see he's Trying to goad the older bull on his left there, or on the left, our left, his right. You're gonna come and spar with me now? That's a good idea. Come on then. I'll take my hat off, we can bash heads. Oh man, look at this old man. Where do we look first? Hello JD. Welcome to Wild Earth Safari, JD, and the life of African elephant bulls. What is the white in the corner of their eyes? It's a bunch of things, JD. It's mucus and dust, and it's all the stuff that the eyelid wipes out from the eye and it accumulates. And it's the same as we get the sort of yellowish, greenish, that mucky look, and almost, like this. When you wake up in the morning and you have this thing in your eye, this stuff in the corner of your eye, it's pretty much the same thing. It's basically walking through the bushes and getting all sorts of things like dust and plant matter and all sorts of things. That little boy could walk underneath his head without even touching sides. Those bulls, we need to go and watch them. They're starting to spar nicely. Hello old man, you just picked up an entire knobthorn and chewed. So basically, as they sometimes wipe their eyes. You often see them sometimes just curling the end of their trunk and rubbing their eye like we would rub an eye with a fist or with the heel of our hand. And that would be sometimes it would clean it out. But the eyelashes are the same as ours, just to try and help keep stuff out of the eye, but also so that the eye can close if need be, if there's something that's potentially threatening the eye. Act as feelers as well. And there's constant dust and feeding on vegetation and all sorts of things. That's why they have eyelids, why they have tear ducts. Moisten the eyeball, the eyelids to wipe the eyeball of all foreign matter. Oh, you are an incredible elephant. If I stood on his tusks and leaned on his forehead, my shoulders would be where the top of his head is. My hips would probably be where his eyes are if I stood on his tusks. I'm about 5'8", I think. And he just wanders by, not a care in the world. Quite okay with us being here, even though we've been moving around a lot, which we're going to do again. Hello, Sarah. Sarah wants to know if they have a dominant tusk. Yes, they do. In fact, I'll show you, Sarah. I'll be able to show you his dominant tusk. Most elephants are right-tusked or left-tusked, and the one tusk that they use is the tusk that often develops a very distinct groove from breaking branches, from bending branches over it with their trunk and then pulling up. There's a bit of dust being kicked up now by those boys fighting down the bottom. I don't know if he's got much of a groove, and sometimes that is responsible for the tip of the tusk breaking, because after time that groove, he's using his left tusk more than anything else, that groove wears the tusk at the tip so thin that eventually the tip breaks off. Here's one of the wildebeest's dust bowls. They're gonna miss it. But this on my right is our wildebeest sandpit. There's been Impala putting their droppings in there. Don't know if the wildebeest knows about that yet. I'm sure he won't be too happy about the Impala taking the liberty. So elephants generally have a slave tusk and a master tusk. When we look at this young bull now, you can see his left tusk is chipped. In fact, that other younger bull, his left tusk is also chipped. I'll see if I can find you, if we can point out a very typical groove in the tusks. That I was talking about. So his tip of his left tusk and this youngster tip, actually it's more than the tip. The top end of his right tusk is broken. Okay, let's see, here comes the old man sauntering down towards us. I love that gait. I often see that when I'm approaching water. And we'll see if we can see a groove in his tusk too. Now what happened to the tip of your tusk, old little boy? Hello, come. You can come here, I don't mind. An African monarch flies by. Hello, Deb. At what age can they mate, and at what age can a cow still have a calf? Well, young female elephant come into estrus very young, about age of 10, 11, 12. Elephants age pretty similar to us. And it is possible for a young cow to have a calf at about the age of 12, but generally they're more likely to have a calf by the time they're 14 or 15, rather than at such a young age of 12. They're going to go through puberty properly. And the last time we saw elephants mating a little while ago, that young cow, she was a tiny little thing. She was only about 10 or 11, maybe 12, and normally in their early teens when they first have a calf. And as far as how old, probably into their 50s they can still have a calf. One of the few animals that will go through sort of a menopause type stage and yet still stay alive, based on the social structure of elephant herds, and that elephant cows are likely to, they're still needed in the herd to help raise young and be the matriarchs that they are. Sorry, there I am moving with it zoomed in again. There's a vehicle coming. I just want to make sure we're in a different position, that's all. These other bulls are starting to move into the drainage line. This little spot where we often have seen Karula. But not many animals stay alive very much long after their reproductive age. Humans, elephants, whales. Oops. I missed the road there a little bit, didn't see it at all. And most of it is to help teach and raise the youngsters. Who is this driving the vehicle? Sometimes people's actions really surprise me. I'd really like to compare him with some of the bulls I've seen at home. He's got such a distinct pattern of tears on his left ear. It'd be very hard to miss that in the future.
I'll try to putting up.
Cali B1. The greatest threat for elephant in the wild, disease-wise. Gosh. TB. I think they're susceptible to anthrax. And a good question worth following up. I mean, the greatest threat to elephant in a place like Kruger is poaching, perhaps. Although there isn't that much elephant, it's more rhino poaching these days than anything else. So, just going to move again. Becky. Here in South Africa, we don't have too much of a threat to the elephant from poaching, as much as there is, say, to rhino. But disease, I'm thinking maybe TB. Whoa. Let's just go. Hello, Jim in Ontario, wanting to know if we have animals that migrate. If so, what time of the year? Well, not really, Jim. We don't really have any animals that migrate. There are seasonal movements of animals, elephant in particular. but it's not like they'll utilize one area and then one. Like these particular bulls will utilize one area at one time of the year and then another area at another time of the year. And when they're not here, other elephants will be here. So it's not like all the elephants go to one place. We don't really have that. I mean, this is a terrain and a habitat type that doesn't really dictate the necessity for animals to migrate. Not sure if anyone copied, but they're 5 and Glove on the western edge of quarantine. Sandy, morning to you. Well, some of the younger bulls try to take over the dominant position from the older ones at some stage. No, not at all. Not with elephants, Sandy. There's no dominant struggle. It's an age thing. There's a hierarchy that comes from years and years and years of elephants just fitting into the hierarchy based on their size and their age. Yes, maybe when it comes to vying or access to cows, there is dominance behavior there. There is fighting. There can be some pretty severe clashes. Sometimes that's where elephants are likely to lose a tusk or two. But no, these are very peaceful animals. They don't have the kind of hierarchical conflict that say antelope have, or the cats for that matter. Maybe it's got a lot to do with the fact that they live for such a long period, for such a long time. I mean, elephants live for pretty much as long as we do. Although in the wild, they don't live for much more than, say, 60 or 65, I don't think. But it's because of that, and it's because of their very long childhood, I think, that elephants sorry, I'm just trying to hold my breath there. I mean, they spend so much time in their childhood. I mean, like the same as us. Right into their teens, they're still considered children by the adults. And it's at those times that they fit into a hierarchy and a social structure that already exists. And the disciplining as children that rules out aggression and abnormal or aberrant behavior makes them pretty responsible adults, which is one of the reasons why they don't show the kind of outright aggression that you might expect from us doing what we're doing, being almost in their faces, as it were. Couple of green pigeons in this jackalberry. We've had Karula's kills in this jackalberry on our left. I remember when she had mission in Duna, she was still raising them. It was almost an sub-adult Nyala bull up in the branches of this tree. Gone at Yodan's Dam. Lucky them. Right, let's see what else we can see them do for now. I think if they cross the drain, they are going to cross the drainage line eventually and go through onto Rebecca's Road. But tomorrow they might be gone. Where's the old man? Timing was good because we caught all 5 of them out in the open, and now that they're crossing, going up onto Rebecca's Road, they're spreading out a lot because they're going to be feeding on probably bark and shrubs and things. I want to get a picture of that little drongo. I mean, this time of the year, the fork-tailed drongos are in attendance. So anything big that moves around in the grasses, because insects are a little bit scarce, and it just makes it easier for them to catch. Sorry, Craig. This makes it easier for them to catch insects when they've got these big animals moving through, pulling at grasses and making quite a lot of disturbance. Makes it easier for them to see insects that are moving, as opposed to just sitting where there are no insects. Hello, Ed. And what you read is quite true. In fact, it's probably more than just 100 years. Ed's saying he's heard about animals dying of anthrax and being buried and the spores still being active after 100 years. And yes, very much so. In fact, the protocol actually, Ed, is to burn them. One of the things that that I learned as a kid even was that when you find a dead animal and there are no visible signs of injury or anything, that the best thing to do is, first of all, you've got to cover it with branches as best you can, because you don't want vultures getting to the carcass. And then you call in animal health, who'll come and take a blood test, a blood sample. And then as soon as the blood sample has been taken, you've got to burn the carcass. That's the only way to kill the anthrax spores, because anthrax spores can actually remain dormant for 300 or 400 years. I remember my brother-in-law telling me something about that at one point. And it just needs disturbance. They just need to be exposed to the air or oxygen. They just needs to be moved. Like if they're in bones, in the marrow of bones, those bones just have to be disturbed. What he's picking at now is picking out an entire baby leadwood. That's an entire leadwood that he's kicking at. It's probably about a 5-year-old leadwood tree that he's just picking up right now. And another one that's probably a little bit older. Hello, Kabir. Well, these elephants survive in the Asian habitat, or vice versa. I'm going to use that branch to scratch his head. No, Kabir. Well, yes, I guess they would. They wouldn't really know what food is, but I'm sure they'd be able to survive. Climate's very similar. Oh, he's just wet. And absolutely incredible, this bull. Absolutely fantastic. Vivian, no, I've never been lucky enough to witness a birth in the wild, unfortunately. But Kabir, I mean, if African elephants are surviving quite well in Tennessee, and Asian elephants in a sort of semi-free environment in a place like Tennessee, then I'm quite sure that a place like India, which has got very good vegetation, got a much broader leaf vegetation, I don't know if the digestive system would be able to handle it that well, because they're so accustomed to this rather rough vegetation as opposed to a more broadleaf vegetation. There are a lot of trees that are common to both India and Africa, so there are things that some of these elephants will probably recognize. But I'm sure with a little bit of assistance at times in terms of helping them maintain their diet, maintain body weight, I mean, there's no real reason why they shouldn't be able to survive. Two of them already way down there crossing the drainage line. We've had perhaps the best time with them already this afternoon, and I'm really happy we did, because I was quite envious when Tara was here yesterday with them out in the open. So I'm thinking maybe we can just say goodbye and let them wander off into the distance. A lot of young leadwoods here in front of us. Hello, JD. Interesting question. Referring to an elephant we saw a little while back that had lost part of its trunk. JD wants to know how much of the trunk can be lost before an elephant can no longer survive. Well, JD, I mean, almost the entire trunk, I guess you could say. I've seen an elephant with barely a foot of trunk, barely a foot left, right in front, from the tusks down. And it was surviving quite well. In fact, all intents and purposes, it looked like a very old injury. It does hinder them for some time before it heals. It must be extremely painful and sensitive. And sorry, it was a mistake. My binoculars went for flying. You heard that. I mean, it takes time. It will obviously take a little bit of time for them to adapt. It's not something that they'll be able to adapt to very quickly. But they can survive quite well. They then just feed with their mouth, and instead of being able to pick up food with the trunk, they'll feed only with their mouth. They'll use their feet maybe a little bit more. I've seen an elephant that lost most of its trunk still being able to pick things up like marula fruits and the palm nut fruits, the fruits of the Borassus. No, not the Borassus, they were a bit big. The doom palms in East Africa. Still being able to sort of squeeze them into a nostril and put them in his mouth. I've seen an elephant that was missing part of the tip of his trunk, and he would still be able to curve his trunk into like a hand and then roll things onto his trunk with his foot. And it becomes a handicap, but just like us as humans, if we lose a limb or something, we learn to adapt. I mean, when you think about it, I know people who have been born without arms that are some of the most incredible painters. They paint with their feet. I remember seeing an article of a guy who has taught himself to do everything with his feet. He can go fishing, he can play the piano, he can do all sorts of things. Then there's another chap who does promotional talks in the US. He's an Australian guy. I've seen him on YouTube. Incredible. It's like he was a thalidomide baby, because his limbs were completely, I mean, you can hardly call them limbs. He's got the most incredible positive outlook on life. He brings people to tears with his promotional promotional talks. They're more, what you call it, I forget what you would call it. When someone gives talks to inspire, but also to inspire. Yeah, that's good one. But also motivational. That's the one. To motivate youngsters. I mean, when you get a guy who's got no arms, no legs, and he's got this incredible positive outlook, and you see him doing all sorts of fun things with the body that nature gave him, and he's able to live such a positive life, no human being with all their faculties could possibly complain about anything. Yet we do. And that is because of the resilience of the body and the determination to survive. Some people give up, and some people fight, and well, depends on whether you have that in you. And elephants are no different. Difficult for them to lose a limb, of course, but I mean, I'm just talking about losing the trunk, an important part of their lives. But they do eventually learn to feed and carry on without it. Right, where are we going to go? Becky said Mozambique earlier. We'll see how far we can get. We'll head in that direction. We'll go east. We might be stopped at Cheetah Cut Line. Actually, there's a very good chance we'll be stopped at Cheetah Cut Line. We won't be able to go much further east than that. But it doesn't stop us from still wanting to go to Mozambique. Hearing stories of Craig and Kelly coming back from Moz. Bye, boys. Thank you. Love you. Come see us again, you hear? We could go down here and see that one on the termite mound just before we go home. It might be nice looking up to an elephant. Just sort of, because he didn't hear me say goodbye. They are now spread out over at least about 100 meters. It goes to show how different things can change. And if you were driving on Rebecca's Road, you'd only see maybe one of them, and then you'd think, oh, it's elephants alone. Meanwhile, there are 4 others. Are you going to stay up there, little boy? Please do. It'd be nice to see you high up like that if we're down here. This is Bullfrog Pan. I've named this Bullfrog Pan after seeing this place jam-packed with bullfrogs one day. It's not going to be easy to drive on it. Oh well, we tried. goes. Oh, this one's still here. Maybe we can make our way around the edge. Oh, there we go. We still get to see him nicely. Yeah, just stand just there. Just like that. Ears open. Food in them. No. Just. And he was one of the younger, smaller ones. Let's just go around here to this other one who's also on a termite mound. Remember this spot, folks. Oops. We'll be coming back here in summer when there's lots of water. I'm quite sure we will still see Karula and her children in this little spot at some point. Oh, there's a kingfisher using this elephant for some insect catching. Well, I was hoping to show Sarah, at least try and point out if one of them had the typical groove in the tip of the tusk. But alas, 'tis not to be. He might have lost the tip of his from the groove wearing through. Well, wearing to the point where it was brittle and so it broke. Okay, well, we're looking into the sun now, so let's move on. This Tambuti is another tree that Karula's had a kill in. There's an impala in there once. God, there was an eagle in a, or maybe it might have been a martial eagle, but it was flying up towards Zoe's road. A very big eagle, very pale underneath. Again, bye boys. See ya sometime. See you in the Tumbavati. Station is leaving Locker 5 and Dlorv, heading west towards Rebecca's Road across the drainage line, leaving it with an open lock. With an open lock, no. Leaving it. Hi Sydney, 5 Elephant Bulls that just west of the Bry site. They've crossed that drainage line going up towards Rebecca's Road. There were some cheetah up at Jordaan's Dam that I know of. Other than that, I don't know. Primary feather from the starling. It's a nice find. Virtual starling, primary. Where will it fit in my hat? When you see the color, you need to zoom in on it. There you go. Good stays there. Hello Chagras. Chagra and Sisticola. I think we could start looking for all sorts of things that haven't been here, because I was just looking at that Tambuti, seeing how it looks like. What looks like? I better get it out. The flowers are coming out on the Tambutis already. It's going to be a bit more than just pulling at a stick. It was a dead stick from a living tree. But yeah, that was a bit bigger than just something you can reverse over and it'll come loose. Quite sharp spines on it. Janina. Was it? Okay, Janina or Jeannie. Janina. Are they in pain if they break a tusk? It depends on where the tusk breaks. If it breaks at the tip, no, there's no pain involved at all. It just becomes a blunt instrument. If it breaks closer to the jaw, like the bull we saw this morning, that's a different story. There it will affect the nerve of the tooth. It is a tooth, so there is a nerve. Kind of like you break a tooth, just the tip of it, like your incisors. Crack a tooth at the tip of the tooth, you might not feel it, but if you crack it lower down or higher up, depends on which way you look at it, but closer to the gum line, closer to where the nerve of the tooth is, then it'll hurt. And because the physical makeup of their teeth and everything else about them is the same as, it's kind of the same as us, so you have to imagine that yes, it would hurt. It would be very sensitive, breaking a tusk very close to the jawline. Henry's not here.
Go ahead. Roy, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, we gotta go another direction and I've got to drive a little bit quicker than usual. So Piwa's just been heading home and she phoned Craig to say that they saw a leopard as she was heading home near Sandy Patch. It's quite a distance away. Don't know which direction it's moving in. Don't know if it's still within our broadcast range, but we're going to have to go and see if we can see that. See the boys, the sun shining off of their leather. They tan their skin, their fluence shining off of them way in the distance. It's only Tuesday today. There's so many landowners here. Probably a public holiday in July. I don't think we have public holidays this time of the year. Oh, yeah, guinea fowl complaining a little bit. Lots of vehicles out, so I'm hoping if we can find this leopard we'll spend a bit of time with it, but I'm quite sure that everybody's going to converge because no cats have been seen. Well, no, actually Hey Ryan. Ryan, we're copying. Ryan, you copy? Ryan, come in. Not often that I get to use third gear, But you see, if a leopard's walking on the road, it can leave the road at any moment, and all we're going to find are tracks. The idea is to try and get there as soon as possible after it's been seen. To try and at least not only find the tracks, but still find the cat. I'm guessing it could be Karula. Lots of elephant tracks here. I'm hoping she was, or this leopard, not she, it, he, he was on the other side of Sandy Patch, walking this way to Sandy Patch rather than being here walking towards Sandy Patch. You can hear a crumbick to the left there. I think it was to the left. Nothing here in the way of tracks yet. Yeah, kitty, 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 where are you? Kitty, kitty, kitty. I wonder if that's our bull from. A wildebeest from the open area near camp looking for his females. He does use this open area, and he does use the open area at Sydney's Dam as well. I've seen him and the females there, although he does generally live at the area we call quarantine. Okay, we're going to have to go towards the gate. Don't know how far we can get, in the hope that we can see something. Meow. I have to have a word with Spiwe to get him to be a bit more specific about where it is and what direction it's moving in. Leopard. Sounds like signal's still fine. Ground gets a little bit higher here, so we might still be fine for a little while. Kudu and Impala off to our right and a little bit too relaxed, unless there's a leopard stalking one of them and they don't know it yet. Every time we come around a bend and there's empty road up ahead, I'm hoping to see a cat in the road. Strangely human tracks here walking in. Little tracks, yes. I don't think this cat's been here yet. It could very well have been off of the road when it was just seen by the staff. Seeing now. Yeah, there they are now. So behind somewhere between here and those Kudu and Impala. Because I've got the tracks here now, and I mean, you know, it's like when monkeys or baboons are alarming, and you know it's a leopard, but you just can't get there quick enough because it's like a matter of seconds when that leopard is going to just disappear. But I'm not going to give up too easily today. Close by, I know they're Impala and Kudu up ahead. They will likely start alarming. Seeing tracks here. To walk on the tracks to see which side of the road it went. A matter of 10 or 15 yards where I saw tracks and then no tracks. If there's what? Sorry, I didn't get that. Hello Nancy. We're just going to stop here. There's some Impala and Kudu just off to our left. We're going to just listen. Nancy wants to know if there's cheetah in the reserve or at Pete's Pond. Nancy, I can't really talk much about Pete's Pond. It's in Botswana. It's a few hundred kilometers away. It's in another country. And I don't know much about that part of Botswana. I know about the Okavango Delta. And there are cheetah there. I would imagine there would be cheetah in Mashatu, where Pete's Pond is. And yes, there are cheetah here. In fact, some of the guys are watching cheetah right now as we speak up on one of the dams on a neighboring property. Okay, we're just going to change the battery quickly.
Again?
I'm just standing away from the vehicle a little bit just to try and listen. Sometimes it's the humming of all the equipment makes it hard to hear subtle noises. Let's go on to Sandy Patch North. But if it cut through, it would have cut through it where that pan is. Gonna miss this small group of kudu and impala. Let's go and have a look. Nice big kudu bull here. Have a look at him quickly. Alright, he's gone forward when we come back. You see, this leopard could have cut through that way and gone to Impala Road. Yeah, just a glimpse of this kudu bull quickly. I can't see him. Is he still there? Hiding behind all this guarri bush. Well, first we'll try Sandy Patch North, and then we'll try Impala Road if it cuts through to the south. Been enough time that has lapsed that it would be out on this road by now. It's cut through this corner. Oh, here's a giraffe. By the looks of things, quite a few giraffe around. This is a big male. There's some tracks of females and younger ones here too. We'd have to, there's a female as well. We'd have to find all these animals when we're trying to find a leopard. Oh, we've seen him long time ago. Hey old man. Lost the tip of his tail. Gosh, he's a huge giraffe. Bit of an abscess behind his elbow. Don't know if you noticed him lifting his tail and depositing some droppings, and it's one of the reasons why I find giraffe dropping in a pile. They're always scattered. And they're scattered partly because the giraffe drops it from quite a height, and they're very small pellets compared to the size of the animal. I mean, they're only about the same size as the pellets of a kudu. 3 giraffe there now. Okay, old giraffe. Not going to go anyway. There are also rhino tracks here. Big rhino. But also giraffe drop their droppings while they're walking, so you find their droppings scattered as opposed to in one place. Two females, one big bull. Sun's a bit awkward. Give him a chance to come onto this side of the road. Follow the girls. Or a handsome boy. And the leopard's east of us. We'll probably find tracks crossing this road. Let's just go back and see. I'll come out onto Aubrey's Road. We can find these giraffe again shortly. I'm guessing because of the way the Franklin were behaving. I just heard Franklin's alarming. Well, not so much alarming as scattering. They make a different call when they're alarming, as opposed to when they're chased up by something, the likes of which is maybe a leopard. And that happened. There's even more giraffe in there. That happened. Maybe I can call in reinforcements. I can't cover 3 roads at once. Anyone looking for Tlamiti? Any station near Sandy Patch? I need help locating an Ingwe. If that doesn't bait anybody, then nothing will. Is that you, Tex? No, I got a phone call to say that the staff saw an Ingwe when they were leaving. I've just found Mkonzo on Gari, or rather Buyatela access coming towards Sandy Patch. But this Ingwe left the road. I've checked a little bit on Sandy Patch North. I'm just checking Aubrey's Road now. Here's this leopard walking is going to have to come out onto a road again at some point. It would be nice to have. Ooh, snake tracks. Snakes are moving around today. At least one was. don't think that's fresh. There's a leopard track here going the other way, but it's not from now. Debbie suggesting the name Nyanga for one of the cubs, as in sun and moon. Well, it's Ilanga. Nyanga is like a witch doctor. Nweti is moon. Nyeleti is star. Nweti. Thank you, Debbie. Take it under advisement. We'll bring it up at the Rangers meeting. An early footnote. Hello, Kevin in Northampton. How dangerous is it to step out of the truck the way I do? I don't really know how to answer that, Kevin. I have been asked that question before, and for me, I've spent more time on foot in this type of habitat with the same animals in all over southern and East Africa. I think nothing of it because I know what I'm doing. I would imagine for you coming from Northampton to be able to just step out of the truck, it would be a little bit more dangerous because you don't know what you're doing. But yeah, I guess it does have its dangers. The leopard could be in the grass, might take offense to me if I don't see it. The thing is, these animals are not here to kill us. It's not in their nature. It's not in their makeup to just kill us for no reason. There are a few things that we would have to be careful of. Elephant to some extent, hippo, buffalo, lion to some extent, leopard to some extent. Those are the dangerous ones. Only the rhino, of course, as well. But to be honest, I don't think twice about it. If I go home in about 2 weeks, I think I'll go on leave. When I go on leave, I spend more time out of my vehicle than I do in my vehicle. I wander around all day in this kind of habitat. And I guess it's because I'm comfortable in it, and it's because I've spent most of my life walking around the bush that I am comfortable in it. We've come far enough. This leopard wouldn't be this far, I don't think. I was thinking of doing a loop back to the firebreak, up to the firebreak, and then over to Sandy Patch North, but I want to go back this way around. Back towards those giraffe and kudu. I just wish I could hear better, that's all. Hoping to see off in the bushes a flick of the tip of the tail, the white flash. thing is that if it was Karula and she maybe even had her cubs somewhere in that bush where we left her tracks, and it'll be some time maybe before she moves, or she might have even gone to fetch them and gone back the way she came. There's no guarantee. It would have needed to be here a little bit earlier. Sadly, it took too long. Excuse me, Hornbill. Hello. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Dove. You too. It's 2. Columbus. Time to put some layers on already. Be a beautiful sunset from here. Could have gone that way. We could try a little trip down Marla Road just in case if it did come this way. I'll pick up on its tracks. It's got to cross this road or Sandy Patch North at some point. I thought it had already crossed Sandy Patch North because of those Franklins. I may have been wrong. Franklins are a little nervous at times. Something tells me it was north of the road. Rhinoceros track. Rhinoceros was sleeping in the road. Cars have driven over it, probably this morning. Beautiful moon. Hyena, hyena, more hyena, rhino. No leopard. Yet. Not yet. I don't know how hyena being so busy in this part of the world. Okay, we are now off track. It's like, you know, the hot cold game. So we're getting pretty cold now. Approaching the power line. No sign yet of any footprints of a spotted cat. Elephant. Rhino. Hyena have left the road. Hyena was from last night. So back to Sandy Patch North, up to Sydney's Dam. So we turn around. Pardon? Time to stop and put layers on and listen for leopard. Watch the sunset. Oh, Karula. I'm guessing it was Karula. Tracks look like it could have been her. Looks like she's got a full belly as well. Means she could have come to fetch the cubs and gone back the other way. Toes a little bit more splayed. Tracks a little bit deeper in the soil rather than the sand. Hello, Vivian. How do staff get backwards and forwards? The vehicle on foot or by bicycle? What's a vehicle? It was Sipiwe who gets a lift with Mildred. Mildred works in reservations at the lodge. And Mildred lives in Flubukani. Mildred drives in every day. And Sipiwe and agreement get a lift with her. We help to cover fuel costs. Okay, we are going to just quickly, the sun, there is cloud. We're just going to quickly watch the sunset and we're going to carry on, because while we're watching the sunset, and both Becky and I need to just get a little bit warmer. Temperature drops rapidly once the sun goes down. It's already starting to drop. Pardon? It is a bit bright. It's going to disappear behind that cloud and then it's going to pop out underneath it. not too far. We are what? Maybe 2-3 days away from full moon. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Put my shirt back on makes 5, and my jacket makes 6. Ooh, I'm sure I brought my... Yes, I did. My buff from JP in Luxembourg. JP, why don't we hear from you anymore? I haven't heard from you for over a year. From you. Jean-Pierre Levy in Luxembourg. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to mark... I can't really see. A little bit to the left of the sun is the northernmost tip of the Drakensberg, where it starts curving to the west a little bit. That's where we drive to get to the canyon and the tunnel when you drive up to the top of the escarpment. And every day the sun is getting closer and closer to that point. I'd say let's give it about a week and we'll see the sun hitting the tip of that escarpment. And then for the next 9 months at least, we're going to see the sun going down behind the mountains. From this point, of course, that is only from this point I'm talking about. Right, that's better. Ready for the North Pole now. Sorry, of the Arctic Circle. Rock the boat. Hello, Jim in Ontario. Few questions. How remote are we? How far do we travel? Oh, here's the sun popping through the bottom of the cloud. It's like a reverse sunrise or sunset. It's smell smoke. How far do we travel, and how do we not get lost? We're not that remote, Jim. If it was dark right now, we would see lights out there in the villages and towns outside the reserve. Djuma's on the edge of the Sabi Sand Reserve. In fact, one of the gates into the reserve, is only about a mile from us, from where we are right now, up this road that we're on. And there are towns and villages just outside the reserve, agricultural areas, subsistence farming. how far we travel. We don't travel very far. We're limited to a certain radius that we can travel from the mast that we use for the broadcast, and that just coincides with about the same size that of Djuma Game Reserve, the Djuma Game Reserve part of the Sabi Sand. I think it confuses a lot of people because of all the different names. Djuma Game Reserve, Sabi Sand Game Reserve, Kruger National Park. It's essentially all one thing. It's just humans' way of trying to differentiate between the different areas. But it's all one place. And we can only travel within the small traversing area of Djuma Game Reserve, which is big enough for us. I mean, we very seldom drive the same road twice unless your name is Mark and you're looking for a leopard and you're going up and down like I am now. But it depends on how many animals we see. That'll determine how far, what kind of distance we cover in a game drive. Sometimes I can see so much, not go very far from camp at all. And because of that, it's physically impossible to get lost. There's a road network. I don't know if you managed to find the map, Jim, but there's a road network that one learns within a week or two of being here. It's relatively straightforward, especially the boundary roads that we have. We never have to drive more than a couple hundred yards to hit a road. It's virtually impossible to get lost. And you can, most definitely. Off-road, following leopard at night on a cloudy night with no wind and there's no stars and there's no real way to get to gauge direction. Then you've got to use a little bit more than got to use a little bit of local knowledge and a little bit more than the basics to be able to choose a direction and stick to it, because as you know, as humans we do tend to travel in circles when we're lost. Goodbye, sunshine. Hello, Deanna. Any way of finding Aardvark? Only way to find Aardvark, Deanna, is to maybe get lucky, driving around at night and maybe trying to find one that way. We're going to talk to Sydney quickly. Okay, so sorry, just chatting to Sydney and family. I'm going to go back along Vuyatela Access Road a little bit, and then we'll also go, what was it? The spring, which was broke. snapped. I bet you that's the clutch spring. No. No. It's a spring or something. It's not good. Okay, Sydney's going straight towards the gate. I'll do Sandy Patch North then. Go back past those giraffe. Go to that little water hole. Beautiful sky. Beautiful big sky. Female giraffe came out on top of our tracks here. There she is. Two of the females. There's the bull. Giraffe don't seem to be too concerned. Yvonne was saying I didn't finish the leopard story. Oh, that one from this morning. Yeah. Okay. Shortly. Have a look at this water hole, mud wallow, pan, whatever you want to call it. Carla all went that way. Still water here. Be a good place for a leopard to aim for. And his dam isn't very far away. Are you here, pussycat? Have you been here, pussycat? Yes. There's an old track. Not the greatest water either. Pretty mucky. Maybe Craig, if you could in the meantime listen to channel 2 between sending me questions just in case something comes up. Sydney's not that way. I was talking this morning about some of the encounters that I had that were quite exciting. One of them was in the Okavango, but it is a story I've told before. I'm sure there are new viewers now that I have to continue, who will be curious. There's a particular day when I didn't have any guests in camp and decided to take a boat down one of the channels that I hadn't spent much time on. I was running a camp that had its own island, and there was several main, well, there was one main channel, but several smaller channels that you could navigate, either up through Papyrus Line, or either Papyrus Line channels, or these channels that wound around islands. And this one particular channel went way downstream from us that I had hardly ever spent time on, because I always used to go up the main channel to other channels. It was one of the days that I wanted to explore. I wanted to go and see some different islands. I wanted to go and see some different places. And I had a chap in camp that was doing some thatching repair, and he wanted to do some fishing, so he tagged along. And much later on in the day, it was time to head back, and I was right on the edge of an island. I saw vervet monkeys going absolutely crazy. I switched off the boat engine and listened, and I could hear two leopards. I could hear them mating, and I could hear the male rasping. I could hear all this activity. So I beached the boat. Dave didn't want to join me. All he was interested in was fishing. And I went out onto the island. And the edge of these islands in the Okavango are lined in very big trees. The center of the islands tend to be grassland. You just get a very similar effect to this. You break through the tree line, but they're tall trees, they're big sausage trees, and jackalberries and baobabs and mangosteens. And when you break through this tree line, you come out into the open, and you see these open plains. There's always animals there. There are either hundreds of buffalo, herds of lechwe or impala. Gosh, what a beautiful spot. Anyway, I was in my usual uniform, which is shoeless, just my binoculars on my hip with a pair of shorts. I should have said pair of shorts with my binoculars on my hip. And as I came through the tree line, I saw all these lechwe and impala, and I thought, well, the leopard can't be here because the lechwe and the impala aren't even looking up. And I turned to go back to the edge of the island through the tree line, and as I turned around, big male leopard was in mid-stride. Oh, that's Sydney on his damn wall. Thought it was something else with all the dust. Sorry, I'm just interrupting myself. You see the fire break, they started burning today. The fire break's been burned. That's why I could smell smoke earlier so strongly. It was done earlier today. Anyways, this leopard was in mid-stride, making his way across a log, and I turned around and our eyes locked, and he stopped in mid-stride, one foot over the log, the other foot in sort of in mid-air, and slowly put that foot down, and he just stared at me, and I stared at him, and then I started talking to him, because I couldn't move. It was one of those situations where the way he was looking at me, his ears were a little bit flat. He was clearly not very happy that I had interrupted his honeymoon. And so I started talking to him, and he wouldn't back off. And I couldn't back off. Eventually I called to Dave through the tree line, and it took a lot of shouting. And even with me shouting to Dave, because I wanted Dave to bring, all the boats carry this long pole, because if your engine cuts out, at least you have a pole to push yourself along the bottom. It's the kind of pole that we use in the dugout canoes when we go out into the swamplands. I can't remember what we used to call it. There was a special name for it. But this was in 1993, 94, so I can't remember things from that far back, other than this amazing moment that I was eye to eye with this leopard. And I was saying to him, I'm sorry, I'm here by mistake. I didn't mean to disturb you. And I was just talking in a monotone. And eventually Dave answered me. And as soon as Dave answered me, and I was saying, bring this pole along, because I thought if he saw another human being bringing a long pole, it would discourage him from trying to take a bite out of me. And he just turned around and he sauntered off. But you know how sometimes in life a couple of seconds can seem like hours? That was one of those moments. Staring down a leopard's throat. So, this cat didn't come this way. I reckon it's somewhere still in this. Maybe it's her cubs there. Driving across his damn wall. We're going to be finding rhino. In a week or two we'll be finding rhino on this fire break, because they'll be coming through looking for some of the new grasses. And zebra. Zebra will make it too. It'll be interesting to see when the new grasses start coming in. Something here. Tracks. Leopard. Nose. Look at something. Where are my binoculars? Okay, people having a sundown. I'm going to venture that way and disturb them. Oh moon, my moon, oh, great to see you so soon. Going on the leopard story. Janina, there's still a few things smouldering here. They need to come and douse them. You're supposed to after a fire like this. Logs, dead trees that are still smouldering. Probably what this tractor's doing with the Bowser. This is the tractor that pulled us out of the mud one day. Firefighting rig on the back. Like a rally tractor. Could compete with the best of them. Jeannie, yes, wants to know how big of a concern is TB. I spoke of it earlier. It is quite a large concern. A lot of animals carry it, they're not affected by it. But the fact that it is prevalent in the population is a concern. It comes from Europe. It shouldn't be here. It came in with cattle. Bovine TB. does cause lesions on the skin. Dermatological teeth. What's it called? I forget. Something to do with the skin. TB in the skin. Buffalo, of course, are the worst affected. It's affecting lion. It is responsible for the decline of the lion population as well. Got an itchy nose. What does that mean? See an owl or something big. No, it's an eagle. It's in that Balanites, but it's hard to see. Could be an African hawk eagle. Yeah, it looks like I'm seeing white feet, white legs, but we're not going to see it. And if I try and... It's a diurnal bird, so definitely with those long white socks, an African hawk eagle. I don't know what it's doing here. They have a nest on Central Road. Maybe it's another one. So this fire would be what we call a cold burn, with the really all it is. Its main purpose is to take away the grasses and prevent other fires from crossing the road. If any fires come from that side. Sorry, wait, hang on, Craig. Hard to hear. Impossible to work with this radio. Sorry, let me put my earpiece back in. Kudu and Impala again. Obviously didn't explain it very well then. Just a few people wanting to know about the burn. It is a fire break, folks. It is a long strip of fire, maybe 30 yards wide. All they did was burn the grasses, and it's an important aspect of veld management or habitat management at this time of the year. It's to stop wildfires running wild and just burning extensive areas, because it can be detrimental to the welfare of the habitat as well as the animals. There are wildfires that run wild this time of the year, and if there are no fire breaks, if there's a bit of a wind, they can jump roads and they can They can take out an exceptionally large area, and a fire like that will be a much hotter fire. Ow. It'll burn small trees, it'll burn with a controlled burn. You can control the heat of the fire depending on what time of the day you're going to do it, and depending on whether you use, well, essentially you use the wind with the fire. A hot fire is when a fire burns against the wind, and then there's a lot of wind and it's a hot day, and it can damage the trees badly, it can kill trees. And the idea is to stop runaway fires from running away, I suppose, to contain them. If there was a fire in the north and it was coming this way, the best thing to do would be to go to this fire break and start burning from the southern end here, so that the fire meets the fire coming in from the north, and this fire break will ensure that the flames won't come backwards even if there's a northerly wind. So it's to stop fires from spreading, and it's also to help fight fires if and when there are fires. In fact, this, believe it or not, and it's also to help fight fires if and when there are fires. Part of what we call fire management. You see, fire is an integral part of the ecosystem. It is meant to be. There are times when an area like this needs, in fact this actually does need a fire, believe it or not. Way too much moribund material here to allow good grazing to come through next season. Short of fire, it needs hundreds of buffalo and elephants to come through and flatten it all. But fire has been around since time began, and especially towards the end of the dry season, when everything's like a tinderbox, when you start getting your first storms, that's when lightning starts fires. It's good because it's the beginning of the wet season, and that's when the rains come and it greens up pretty quickly. But everything in nature has somehow, in some way, adapted to the presence of fire. And us humans come along and we prevent fire from coming into an area for way too long, to the point where the dry, moribund and non-nutritious material becomes fuel for fires that can then burn out of control, and then those fires become so hot that they cause more damage than fire would if it was left to its own devices. So any area that has even a place like the Kruger National Park, as big as it is and as wild as it is, still has to have some sort of fire management policy, because they will prevent fires from burning in some places, and in some places they will have controlled burns to get rid of the dry stuff, so that new stuff grows, provides better grazing, but it also keeps the succession of plants and everything in the proper cycle. And if you look at some of the fires, some of the really, really bad fires that have occurred over the last few years, Greece, Russia, Australia, California, I don't know, maybe even this latest one in what it was, New Mexico, and I think in Arizona or Nevada, Arizona, one of them. You might find that those areas, fires were prevented in those areas for so long that the material built up to such an extent that when a fire did go through those areas, it was uncontrollable, and that's when you need planes and the whole country's firefighting team. Anyways, I'm back to square one, and I guess we can rule out the possibility of finding a cat, but we'll just go and look for aardvark instead. There's some habitats where fire has been such an integral part of the ecosystem that plants and animals have evolved with the fire, and to some extent they wouldn't survive were there no fire. And we have a biome, we have an area like that down in the Southern Cape, what we call the Fynbos biome. It is a very unique floral habitat, floral kingdom. There are about 900 species of plants, or more than 900 species of plants in the Fynbos biome. One of the most diverse plant kingdoms, or rather plant areas, habitats in the world. I think only the Amazon beats it. And most, if not 90% of the plants in the Fynbos biome would not exist without fire. They need fire. The dry summer months. It helps to germinate seed, all sorts of things. And with that, obviously, a lot of animals and creatures that go with it. I think one of the most incredible, I'm trying to think of the word, life cycles would be it. One of the most incredible life cycles is something I learned of. In Australia, there is an orchid that comes up after fire. And it throws a tiny little leaf above ground, and then the long stalk, and then the flower at the end of the stalk. And also emerging after fire, only after fire, is the adult of a species of wasp. The male is winged, the female is wingless, which is kind of the opposite to most wasps, because a lot of wasps, only the females have wings and the males don't. But in this particular species, the male has wings, the female doesn't. She's a little bit smaller. But the two have evolved together to such an extent that one cannot do without the other. I'm just going to have a look. There's a little scrub here. Stop and listen. Oh, bye-bye, scrub here. Forgot to put my lights on. Why didn't anybody say anything? Part of the flower, part of this orchid, another scrub here, part of this orchid looks exactly like, has the shape and color of the abdomen of the female wasp. In fact, it almost looks like the wasp. It even emits a scent that is exactly the same or similar to the pheromone scent of the female wasp, so it attracts the male. The male comes along and he tries to grab, because normally what would happen is the female wasp emerges from the pupa and she climbs the nearest thing and gives off this pheromone, and the male comes along and picks her up and flies off and they mate over there. So this orchid mimics the wasp. The male comes along and tries to grab it, and it's on a hinge, and as he tries to fly away, this flower moves and it rubs pollen on his back. And then he'll fly to another flower and he'll rub the pollen off of his back. Incredible. Absolutely incredible how things like that evolve. Hello, Marsha. Marsha says she was on safari once. A woman told her you must never stare at an animal because it'll take it as a threat. That is true, Marsha, to some degree. I saw something running through there. Might have been a steer, but that is true. I mean, when you go things like gorilla trekking, you go to the gorillas or the chimps, any primate for that matter, you don't stare at them because they see it as an aggressive gesture, they see it as a threat. A lot of animals. Marsha's just saying, with reference to my leopard story, I will never take my eye off a cat. But the thing is, you see, it's a difference between looking and staring and open, wide-eyed staring. Wide-eyed, especially with primates, wide-eyed is bad because it lifts the eyebrows. And you find a lot of primates have very prominent eyebrows because they're very expressive. The eyes are very expressive, and a lot can be said just by the movement of eyebrows, opening of the eyes. A lot of the even the vervet monkeys, they lift their eyebrows in, and well, it's hard to do it, but I'll have to do it next time we're out in the daytime. 2 days time, we're going to find some vervets and see if I can get them to lift their eyebrows at us. Threatening gestures. Cats, I look at animals in different ways. I mean, without opening the eyes and staring at them. I mean, looking at cats, I won't take my eyes off of a cat, but I won't have wide open eyes. I mean, you look at a domestic cat. If you have a domestic cat at home, when you make eye contact with your cat, I bet you, as soon as you make eye contact, the cat doesn't close its eyes. It softens its eyes. It closes those eyelids almost closed. And that's like an acceptance gesture. That is somewhat submissive, but it's also an acceptance gesture. So when a cat looks at you and you do the same thing, you're just speaking cat language. We don't have ears and tails to be able to be as expressive as cats, but we do have eyelids, and we can talk to animals with what we do with our eyes. And when I'm on foot and I'm with animals on foot and I make eye contact with them, I make sure that I'm not being aggressive by opening my eyes wide and staring at them. And when I'm sitting in the vehicle, I'll look at everything. I will soften my eyes when I see a cat, especially like when you're sitting with a lion and you get that sort of funny look from a lion, and it sort of puts its head down and ears go back a little bit. Even then, by staring at it with open, wide eyes, you are posing a threat to it, and it can intimidate the cat. But if you just not blink very slowly, soften your eyes. I don't know how else to describe it other than soften your eyes. Amazing, even with a wild lion, to see how they relax. And with that leopard that I was talking about, he might not have relaxed, but at least it kept him calm. He didn't get aggressive, overly aggressive. And his tail was flicking a little bit, but he wasn't. I mean, his ears weren't really flat and tail thrashing from side to side the way a cat does when it's about to attack in defense or something. There wasn't really a moment with that leopard that I thought he was going to eat me or kill me. But there was a moment that I thought he might go for me, and the way leopards do that is very fast and very aggressive. Quite frightening. And they sort of do a four-legged jump towards you and spit and sort of swipe with their paws at the same time. not as bad as a leopard coming at you from 20-30 yards away on its back legs with its front legs spread out wide, spitting fire and fury. It's a leopard that means business. Leopard maybe responds to a shout, or just backing off very quickly with the vehicle if you're in a vehicle. Yoo-hoo, Aardvark, where are you? I've got very big ears, I've got very good hearing, and they don't like vehicles. They're nocturnal, almost entirely nocturnal. I've never seen an aardvark during the day. I've seen pangolin during the day. I've seen honey badger during the day. Honey badger, that's fine. It's not easy to sort of take one of those nocturnal animals and say, okay, well, let's go and find a honey badger, or let's go and find an aardvark. You can't. You've got to just be lucky when it comes to them. And that's why we spend our last hour driving around at night with the light. And what I'm looking for is just the reflection of the eyes, because you can't hope to actually see the body of the animal. If anything, it's the reflection of eyes that we're likely to see more than anything else. Unless, of course, it's close to the road, then you see the animal. But we're looking for the reflection in the eye of the animal, light bouncing off of the layer of light reflective cells behind the eye, behind the retina. Sorry, I can't copy anything. Not even 1 out of 5. Lots of impala here. Hello children. Goodbye children. And the leopards. They're all relaxed, looking in different directions. We are at Impala Plains. We'll take a look at the main road. Road that we're coming onto now, it's called Triple M. Comes in from the gate and is the main access for most of the lodges in the northern Sabi Sand, so it's quite a main road. There's often quite a lot of activity on it. Comes in from the gate and then where it meets up with Gari, it carries on straight south. It goes to other lodges in the south, and then it branches to the left, becomes Gari Main, to lodges in the east. All of those lodges to the south and to the east all use that road to get in and out of the reserve. So it's quite a busy road at times. Alan, morning, evening, hello, Alan, camel. Do we get different reflections from different eyes? Yes, to some degree we do. I mean, sometimes depending on the angle, you get either a greenish or a reddish. But some animals are more green and some animals are more red. And then of course, predators have all got their eyes on the front of their face, and the prey all have eyes on the side of their faces, so you very seldom get to see both eyes of the prey species, whereas a predator you invariably always get to see two eyes close together in part, and it's looking at you. You will see both eyes, but the eyes will be quite far apart because they're on the side of the face as opposed to in the front of the face. So in time it does get to be possible to tell what it is just by the position of the eyes. Also, things like wildebeest shake their head a lot. Zebra, you'll only see one eye. So sometimes even from a distance, and all you see is a little light shining back at you from the eye, you can tell it's based on how high it is off the ground and the head movement, and sometimes how many you might find in the group. We can sometimes tell who and what it is. Not always. Sometimes you'll see an eye and oh, it's an impala. No, it's a leopard. No, it's a hyena. No, oh, it's a nightjar. You know, that kind of thing. It's not a precise science trying to identify animals just from the reflection of their eye. Guess not. And I saw one or two eyes earlier. Could have been bush babies deep in the bush, but other than impala now, nothing. Another thing about night drives and using the spotlight is we don't want to shine on diurnal animals, things that we see during the day, especially some of the prey species. We don't want to be hindering them or even shining on them when there could be a predator around. When there are things like leopard and lion and hyena, if we do shine on them we have to take care of what they're doing at all times, because if they start going into hunt mode, we have to take the light off of them, and then sometimes we'll just sit in the darkness and wait, because you can't put a light on. You've got to just wait and hope that you're going to hear something. Yes, there's a moon dog. There's a halo around the moon. See, I told you there's moisture in the air. That means that there's extremely high ice particles. I don't know if we'll be able to pick it up, and it might get better as the evening wears on. It's too big, it's too wide to see. What if you put the moon in the top left corner? I can just make it out with the camera moving.
Right, if I lock it off, and then I'm gonna open the shutter.
Yeah, you can almost make out the ring on the left of the...
Something changes on this camera in the dark.
You mum, what?
I'm mumbling.
Well, I can't hear you with this thing in my ear.
Mumbling to myself.
And the noise of the machines. But yeah, there's a halo, a moon halo tonight. Not very distinct, but yes, my guess is maybe a wet full moon. Maybe. There you go, you can almost make it out. What did you do? Just blurred it.
No, I tried to unblur it, but I don't know why it's so blurry.
Well, you can almost make it out. I mean, sometimes you might think that that's just lens flare, but that is actually... I don't know if it's translating well on through the internet. But now, coming through almost the middle of the picture is that ring. You can almost see it. Ring around the moon. Oh, good, you can see it. I was supposed to be looking for signs from ants and things if there was going to be any, if they think there's any change coming. I've had to clear my ears a few times today, so there have been changes in atmospheric pressure. Looks fairly full, but it's not yet. Still a couple of days to go. Righto. Onward ho. Cool. Hello, moth. Number of moths out tonight. You know what? I'm surprised I haven't seen much of bark spiders. Although it has been pretty chilly. We saw more bark spiders last year than there were this year. I suppose we weren't really out much in the late summer months, or late in the summer months. And now in winter, not going to be too many spiders. But it's going to start warming up a little bit. Hello Alan, why don't we use an infrared light so that we can see them but not the light? Well, mostly Alan, because this camera doesn't, this Sony doesn't have an infrared capability, so we can't use infrared. Even if we had infrared, we'd still need white light to drive around and see what we're doing. Find the animal with white light first. But no, this camera doesn't do infrared. then of course all the game drive vehicles with the guests can't use infrared, they have to use white light so that the guests can see what's going on. There are a couple of places I know of that do night safaris with night vision, even better than infrared. I know there was an Israeli company that was doing it in East Africa, but it's exceptionally costly to have 6 or 8 or even 10 sets of night vision goggles. Then you'd have an infrared light, because then infrared light turns your night vision into daylight. We have done in the past. We have done stuff with infrared in the past when we had cameras that have been able to handle it. If I remember correctly, the 3D rig used to be able to do that. We used to be able to sit in the pitch black with an animal and just film in infrared without any lights on. Just 1 or 2 infrared lights. Text coming. Anything been picked up in the last hour? No, copy, thank you. Been quiet, he says. Has been rather. Surprised, it's not really that chilly tonight. Quite pleasant, but we are on high ground. I guess it'll be a little bit colder when we go through Philemon's Dip. I think tonight it's time Lion came back this way, so we have Lion for tomorrow. I'm going to have to speak to the Lion King about that. Sending some of those other cats this way during the night so that Tara can find them for you in the morning. Maybe we can all collectively think to those cheetah that come across from Buffelshoek and come this way. Find them lying up at Gowrie Dam tomorrow morning. Although, cheetah would have to do that in the daytime. They're not going to move. Well, who knows? There's a fairly bright moon. I've known cheetah to move under moonlight, but they are more diurnal than they are. They're more diurnal than, say. Oh, there's a cat. Looked like an African wildcat was sleeping in the road. Put my light on it and she ran away. Here she is, just behind this quarry. I don't want to race too fast, but then she's going to run away. Are you still here, pussycat? There she is. Oh, wow. Hello, pretty girl. Oh, it looks like it could be a tomcat. Because Now, a lot of you might look at this and think, oh, that's just a domestic cat. But it is not. This is the African wildcat. These cats have been part of the bush, as much part of the bush as lion and leopard. And one of the smallest cats we will see here. See how it's, well, I suppose it's closing its eyes because of the light. Ears constantly listening for sounds of rodents in the grass. Gorgeous cat. You might find your tabbies have similar markings, and that would be because they have genes that come from these cats. These are probably the cats that the Egyptians first domesticated. African wildcat. Quite a... sure it's a tomcat because it looks quite a thick neck, heavy shoulders, very healthy pussycat. There has been debate in Kruger as to the integrity of the genetic pool, the gene pool of the African wildcat, and whether it hasn't maybe been diluted by feral or domestic cats on account of people bringing cats, especially staff who live in Kruger, who have brought cats in, and cats have maybe mated with African wildcats because they can. And it's actually diluted the stock a little bit. And question as to how purebred or how pure these African wildcats really are. But I think here in the Sabi Sand we can say this is probably a purebred African wildcat, because I don't think there have been any domestic cats brought into this part of the world. But having said that, I mean, even from where we are now, you can see lights in the distance from villages. That's not that far for cats to travel like from there. The rural areas, they don't treat domestic animals, or domestic animals are not seen in the same light as maybe as they are in, say, the Western world, where we rever them and we pamper them. And domestic animals in rural areas throughout Africa, their only purpose is to... It's not really companionship. Dogs are there as watchdogs and to help hunting. Cats are there to keep the rodent populations down and protect the grain, as it were. Yeah, that looks like a tom to me. I know there are a lot of cat lovers out there that have been waiting to see one of these. And I just want to hug them, and I just want to tie bows around their neck, and I just want to love them. I love all cats. Have you seen that YouTube thing that went viral? There was a girl that was doing a personal ad for a dating site or something, and she started getting a little teary-eyed because she was saying, oh, how much she loved cats. And then it got into a little bit more than teary-eyed. Got to be quite hysterical about how much she loves cats. And much like that little old bag lady that was at a supermarket when it was robbed about a year ago, and they made a song to her, backing up, because my daddy, Well, they've done a song to this girl's cat loving thingy. Songify this. Just quite sad actually. But nice to know that people love cats that much. Okay, I think we've put our light on for Tomcat for long enough now. Not the kind of animal that the light bounces off of. I'm gonna go forward a little bit. Hasn't moved. Lying down now in the grass. I wanted to see if we could just get to see the body a little bit better, so I could. There we go. Get to see the markings a bit better. Oh, off we go. I'm not seeing the body much better. Hi, pussycat. All right. Oh, crunch. That was, now that was very special. Totally unexpected, and that's what it's all about. Even if it takes us an hour of driving around with a light, just to see that makes it all worthwhile. Backing up, backing up, backing up. My daddy taught me good. Nobody on Gary Main, but we can see. Second instead of fourth might sound better. So tomorrow night we'll find another nocturnal animal. I'd say the last week we've had a good couple of nocturnal creatures. We had Janet. Tara's had some nice bush baby sightings. And now African wildcat. We had serval at the dam on the Djuma waterhole cam. Somebody sent in a picture of a civet from on the Coral Cam. So we're getting closer to the likes of honey badger or porcupine or aardvark. A matter of time. Drive the same roads over and over again and do the same thing. It's a matter of time until you find something that you've never seen before. And I think that's the very thing that keeps us doing this to some degree, because we know that at any moment we can round a bend and have a wonderful surprise. And right now we're going to round this bend, and I'm going to do something highly predictable at this time of day. I'm going to stop, switch off, and sadly I'm going to have to say goodbye. Clunk. Without getting tied up. There we go. Some light on the subject. That looks good. Well, not really. I don't know how good I look, but maybe it looks. I'm bad. I'm not Michael Jackson. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining me this afternoon, everyone. I hope you've had a nice time with us. The elephant. Maybe just leaves rustling in the wind. But speaking of elephant, that was fantastic. To spend time with those bulls. And I think it's not so much just the spending time with them, but it was that contrast in sizes from that young bull to those older bulls who were they were big in their own right, and then there was just that towering, like I said to Tari yesterday, basketball player of an elephant. Magnificent. And I hope they might still stick around for us a day or two, so we can see them again, who knows. But thanks for joining me. Thank you for all the questions and all the interaction. That's what it's all about, is being able to talk to you and you talk to us. Thank you, Becky, for camera, and Craig in final control. All of us here at Wild Earth Safari. We'll see you tomorrow morning for the morning safari at 6:30 Central African time. And till then, goodbye, good night.